Welcome to Raising the Flipping Bar, the go-to podcast for aspiring and seasoned real estate investors. I'm your host, Derek Marlin, and I'm the CEO of Elevation. We're a real estate investment company based right here in Denver, Colorado. We'll dive into smart investment strategies, market insights, and essential tips for scaling your real estate ventures. Whether you're making your first investment or your 100th investment, this podcast is your blueprint for success in the ever-evolving world of real estate investing. Get ready to elevate your real estate game and begin your journey with me. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Raising the Flipping Bar. I'm your host, Derek Marlin, and this is going to be a solo episode, and it's going to be an episode that's super, super timely because this actually came out on May 14th, and it is an article from the Denver Business Journal. Let's buckle up. There may or may not be some suspect language in this one because I'm super fired up today to give you guys the real deal. I want to give you some great information, and I want you to interact with me as well. I know we say this, but definitely reach out to us, connect with us. I'm really curious to get your take on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to acknowledge a very sad thing. So for those of you just listening and not watching, this is me putting on my reading glasses because I'm now staring a little closer to the 50 side than the 40 side. And so I'm going to read from this Business Journal article, but sadly, reading glasses are in the mix. So moment of silence. Thank you. Let's give you the exact title of this article. So it says, NAR lawsuit and COVID-19 push real estate agents to reconsider their brokerages. So that's the name of the article. But actually, what I want to do is backtrack just a little bit. I was driving in this morning, and sometimes I'll listen to different motivational folks to kind of get me pumped up for the day. And it's just something kind of nerdy that I do. One of my favorite people his name is David Goggins. He is, pardon the French, but just a bad motherfucker. Like this guy is a Navy SEAL. He was an Army Ranger. He's an ultra marathon runner. He's run 24-hour races. He's run, I don't even know how many miles, hundreds of miles on a broken foot. The dude is just crazy. He also set the world record for number of pull-ups in one 24-hour period where he did 4,025 pull-ups in 24 hours. If you want to see something crazy, just Google David Goggins' hands after he did that pull-up contest because it was out of control. But in general, people are probably saying, well, why are you talking about real estate investing, real estate brokerage, the state of real estate right now, and bringing up a Navy SEAL? He has a great saying, and he says that you need to callous your mind and you need to do hard things. So really, that's where my mind went with this lawsuit thing and this NAR settlement and COVID-19. As we dive into this article, it's like you need to be prepared to do hard things. A little bit of this is I am going to read from this article to give context, and then we're just going to go kind of line by line and agree in certain places, kind of disagree and debunk in certain places. Most importantly, how do we use this as fuel to move forward? So again, it says the COVID-19 pandemic and a recent wave of class action lawsuits have pushed more real estate agents to consider leaving their brokerages. I guess there was a study by Coldwell Banker, and they found that almost 40% of brokers and agents were considering a change. Now, granted, take that with a grain of salt. We're the folks that have always worked with agents, but we haven't had an in-house team of agents where we run our hybrid investor model and agent model with agents on our team really until the past 18 months. So I don't have context from 10 years ago. So that may or may not be a statistic that's pretty on par. But I think that what I'm gleaning from this article is that that number is way up. And they said the biggest reasons cited by agents about why they would want to switch brokers include more referrals and leads, better training and education, and a better commission structure. That's not a newsflash, I would say. But in general, people are looking to make changes, and it's because of all the unsettling things that are going on in the real estate market. This thing goes on to also say that the settlements are expected to reshape how buyer commissions are approached. A change may have predicted could lead to some real estate agents considering their futures in the industry. Again, kind of where my mind goes with this is twofold. One is that, from my understanding, half of the people that have real estate licenses don't even use them. They don't even do a transaction within a given year. So I'm kind of throwing those folks out from this study and kind of where our feelings lie on this one. I'm really leaning in on the other 50% of brokers. And then of that, typically 80% do less than 4 deals a year. It's just all putting context to it. So I really want to talk to the folks that are doing this full time, the folks that are professionals, and then the investors out there that are working with these agents and really how do we reframe a challenging market and a challenging environment. I'm going to go back to my buddy David Goggins, and he has a quote, and it says, "Pain unlocks a secret doorway in the mind, one that leads to both peak performance and beautiful silence." And really where my mind goes with this is you've got to be able to lean in to challenges. You have to, again, callous your mind, as he says, and you have to be willing just to do hard shit. I mean, I think that's just something that people are looking at when we do interviews. And when I'm also working with other investors, we're trying to talk to people and find out, are they in a point of crisis? Whether it's a midlife crisis, and there are things that are going on in their life. It doesn't have to be age centric, but just kind of a crisis so that they don't know whether they're coming or going. We want to be there to help people, but I can't help everybody. So you got to kind of be careful. Are you in a midlife crisis? Is it something that you need to find a way out of and get the help that you need? But from a professional standpoint, you can also be in a mid-career crisis. So there's a ton of people that talk to us and come in and out of real estate investing. They come in and out of being a real estate agent or a real estate broker. And you got to use this as your inflection point and your time of change. And yeah, maybe a brokerage change might be the catalyst that you need to kind of set your career on the path to success. The other kind of crisis that we see is a mid-market crisis. And I think we're in absolutely the middle of that as well. If we kind of look back to middle of 2022, when interest rates shot up in a crazy short time period in a very aggressive manner, it obviously put the housing market to kind of a screeching halt for a little bit. It's since kind of clawed its way back, but definitely prices are still down in a lot of markets. They're flat in a lot of markets. There aren't quite as many buyers out there because we're still in the 7% range for interest rates. And so these are definitely things that we're really looking at and we're taking into consideration on how do we model our business and how do we specifically come up with the people that we want to work with to hopefully succeed together.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Raising the Flipping Bar. If you found value in our insights and stories, let's keep the conversation going. Connect with me on social media and be sure to share this episode with friends or colleagues who might benefit. Your feedback and reviews help us grow and reach more listeners like you. So please, if you enjoyed this episode, leave us a review. Thanks again to the Elevation Academy for sponsoring today's show. If you're interested in learning more, click the link in the show notes below. And remember, every property tells a story, every deal brings a lesson. Keep reaching for those goals, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
So kind of diving back into the article, it says these events have collectively fed into a landscape where real estate agents are increasingly prioritizing firms that offer robust support, advanced technology, and flexible working conditions. This is kind of also leaning back on national data. This isn't just for Colorado. And I think this is going to be a huge inflection point that we will look back and we'll kind of look at it from an 80-20 perspective, meaning that 80% of the business, 80% of those successful agents, successful real estate investors will collaborate around 20% of the same brokerage or the same investment community. I don't think this is a complete shocker. I think it's definitely something that people need to think about when they are changing brokerages, or at least open to that conversation. And part of it is you got to look inward, and then you got to look with what type of people do you want to align yourself with. The article then also goes on to say, agents are not just looking for a brand to work under. They want a brokerage that actively supports their growth and adapts to the changing landscape, including an economy that is constantly shifting. That's another huge one. I think it's also aligning yourself with individuals and other support systems, whether it's at a brokerage, whether it's at a real estate investment company like Elevation, or whether it's just your side hustle and you're working your 9 to 5 and doing this on the side, being an investor. You definitely need to align yourself with the right people. And really, they're going to be progressive with change. Nobody has all the answers. I heard a great saying by Alex Hormozy, and I don't know whether he said this himself or just ripped it off from somebody else, but it was like, instead of the silver bullet, it's how many golden BBs do you have? So sometimes you do have to spray out the BB focus or the shotgun focus instead of just the golden bullet because, or the silver bullet, because there's not always going to be that like magical one answer. So as we kind of wrap up this article and we really kind of dive into how can Elevation and what are we doing to help kind of combat these potential changes in the market, is it says, looking ahead, the industry will see heightened turnover among agents. Affiliations that align more closely with their evolving expectations and dynamic market conditions. It says in the next year or two, expect to see a significant shift as agents migrate towards companies that offer not just stability, but also forward-thinking approach to business, technology, and support. So with that being said, luckily the reading classes are done, so that's good. I really want to talk about how are we as a company and a community being able to support you as investors, you as real estate agents, or people within our overall business model and sphere. And it's really looking at ways that we're reforging and looking at how do we do business in a different manner today. We're recording this in May of 2024. I wanted to get this episode out right away. It's not going to be the longest episode, but it's really timely and it's important. So to me, the model that we have at Elevation, actually the title of this episode is how do you make money in 10 different ways from real estate? And that's the way that we need to look at our business. You need to look at it from a short-term perspective of how can you generate active income? How can you support your family? How can you pay your bills? But then how can you also put together a legacy plan or a plan from an investment perspective as it relates to real estate to help support you and your family in the long run? The thing that I love is that we can make money from flipping. We can make money from wholesaling. We can make money from our brokerage. We've got institutional connections where we help institutions buy and sell properties. That's kind of just the tip of the iceberg. For us, I was kind of reflecting back as I was driving in. We went through this change a little over a year ago. The market had shifted a little bit, but we were at what was considered supposedly the largest independent brokerage in the state of Colorado that was investor-centric, and that really wasn't the case. And so now we've moved to eXp Realty as far as where the Elevation team is housed, and we have not looked back. I hope that you can kind of hear and feel the intensity of why I'm saying this and what I'm doing, because for us, it's all about generating those multiple income streams. It's working with people to help you guys succeed and win. And how can we have multiple revenue streams to get there? I know that the economy is going to continue to be a roller coaster ride. Inflation is still crazy right now. Interest rates are still fairly high. We're hoping that they come down a little bit in the latter half of the year and into 2025. But to me, it's all about aligning yourself with not only the right brokerage, but a brokerage that is going to put your name at the top of the sign. That's the way where my mind always goes, is before it was companies building up their brands and then it's, oh, by the way, it's Mr. and Mrs. Smith Real Estate. That's not the way that it should be. It's the way that we should support people at Elevation, and it should be that person's individual brand and how does that business get built? And then how can Elevation support you? Or how can eXp Realty support folks from more of a national and an international perspective? So that's what we're really trying to focus on. Again, we really lean into the investment side of things. So we actually even have a presentation that we can connect with you guys with to show you about how are these different ways that you can tap into the 10 revenue streams. But it's all about adapting and it's about thriving. Sometimes it's also going to be, again, kind of callousing your mind, but you're going to have to sometimes callous your bank account. We're going to be coming out with another episode here shortly where little sneak peek into our $1.2 million flip in Sloan's Lake that was hands down one of the most beautiful properties that we've ever done. And unfortunately, it's probably going to be the least profitable property that we've ever done. So you're going to have to take the good and you're going to have to take the bad and you're just going to have to run with it. I think to me, the other thing that I go to is, again, tapping into the potential that you have. If we go back to our buddy David Goggins, he says, when you think about what you've done, you're only 40% into what your body's capable of doing. That's just the limits that we put on ourselves. I don't think that even comes close to touching what they say that we can use with our mind. So to me, you have to marry those two things together and you have to kind of callous your mind and forge yourself into the fire as that key to success. So really, the way that I kind of want to wrap this up is I want you to look at yourself and your business and the people that you're dealing with and use it as an opportunity to reevaluate yourself, your business model, and your real estate relationships, I should say. Challenge yourself to grow as much as humanly possible outside your comfort zone. And that may or may not be shifting brokerages or changing the way that you're doing business. And really, the way that I'm thinking about this is, I feel like the old military kind of recruiting thing is we want you. And the people that I'm talking to can hopefully hear this and see this. We want a couple of badass people to help join what we're doing and what we're building for our agents, for our investment community, and for our business partners as a way to help everybody succeed. So we are trying to be as much as possible on the cutting edge of how to adapt and thrive in this current real estate market. So I'm looking for a couple of real estate agents and executives and professionals to partner with Elevation and grow your business together. So if you've got any inclination of like, man, maybe this is a time that I should see this as the universe telling me there might be a change in store for me, come to our meetups, message us directly, talk to us directly. Hell, just pound on the front door of the Broadway Collective. We'll let you in. We would love to have you guys come in and join with us and link arm in arm and find a way that we can help people tap into these 10 revenue streams together, because it's really important to me, because we want to be around, even though I'm sadly using reading glasses and then getting closer to 50. I'm going to be around for a long time. Our team's going to be around for a long time. And we're building unique platforms like the Elevation Investor Alliance. Again, kind of another little sneak peek. We've just partnered with some phenomenal investors in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. Shout out to the home buying guys. And we're trying to forge this relationship where we can all win and grow together. So they've got their own independent company. We've got our company, but we're starting to form relationships across the country of how can we all invest together in a smart manner. How can we take advantage of different opportunities in different markets, different asset classes, and really win together? I really want you guys to reach out. I know I've said it before, but this is another huge book. We talked about David Goggins, but it's called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. So the way that I'll kind of wrap up today's episode is I'll go a little bit on the other end of the spectrum, and I'm going to read a passage from this book, and it's all about the Stoics and Stoic philosophy. So this is from Epictetus. And it says, in life, our first job is this: to divide and distinguish things into two categories. Externals I cannot control, but the choices I make with regard to them, I do control. Where will I find good and bad? In me and in my choices. That's just a little something that I want to leave you guys with. I think that we can look back, and people have been dealing with challenges for a long time, but we're excited to see how can we get through these? How can we learn from these? How can we grow from these? Thanks for tuning into this quick episode. Hopefully a quick hit. We'll get you guys some fantastic episodes coming up with some really heavy hitting investors that are doing business across the country. I'm Derek Marlin, Raising the Flipping Bar, and we'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Raising the Flipping Bar. If you found value in our insights and stories, let's keep the conversation going. Connect with me on social media and be sure to share this episode with friends or colleagues who might benefit. Your feedback and reviews help us grow and reach more listeners like you. So please, if you enjoyed this episode, leave us a review. Thanks again to the Elevation Academy for sponsoring today's show. If you're interested in learning more, click the link in the show notes below. And remember, every property tells a story, every deal brings a lesson. Keep reaching for those goals, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for listening and watching Raising a Flipping Bar. Just a basic overall disclaimer is that A, this is not legal advice. B, this is not tax advice. C, this is not financial advice. I hope you get the gist, but I'm obviously not a lawyer, not a CPA. Hell, I'm not even a real estate agent, actually. But in general, we hope you get a ton of value out of this, but there is a bit of a disclaimer. Please consult a professional if you have any questions whatsoever. Thanks for tuning in.